Are you just laying around feeling listless? Then go out and rake some leaves. You know, believe it or not, there's more to raking leaves effectively than you would think. In order to do it effectively, you need some tools. And the first tool is a rake. Now, I don't know what the trash collection policy is in your neck of the woods, but our yard waste collectors will just take plastic bags, rip them open, and throw the leaves into the truck. So why do that? Keep some old garbage cans on hand, and then a couple times a year you can fill them up for leaves. I have this great tamper here that the fellow from Modern Greaser, Kyle Thompson, gave me when I was doing a project, and it tamps the leaves down in the garbage cans. But if you don't have a professional tamper like that, of course you can use your hand. You can get a lot more leaves in if you compress them. That leads me to the most important tool you need, and that is your gloves. You must have gloves unless you want big blisters on your hand. And then, of course, you need a supervisor. I examined a lot of your responses in Mrs. Maroney's letter, as well as the people that checked out or just thought about the implications of going to e-school, of this distance learning, of all the experiences they may have had with FLVS. And I came up with this T-chart here with pro and con. And these were items that were either reoccurring and many people had, or they were thoughts that I put in there too. So, because I've observed a lot of students taking FLVS in the media center, and I just like thinking about the future, and this chart kind of reflects that. So I may not cover all of them, but let's look at some of the most important ones. The two most important ones at the top, almost everybody mentions this. A advantage, or a pro, is the big flexibility that students have, the fact that they can sleep in late. They can learn at their own pace, so they could furiously do all the assignments in, a couple hours or over a course of a couple days, and then they would have the rest of the week or whatever to do entirely what they wanted to. So, but the big con is that you can't see your friends in person as often. I mean, obviously you're video conferencing with them and that sort of thing, but you're constantly in touch with them, but you're not in touch with them. You cannot reach out and touch them, and that's a big thing for students. They want to see their friends every day, where they can sit with them, talk, and have lunch, that sort of thing. It's what I've said about the internet before, and that is that it's a million miles wide and an inch deep. Okay, we don't really get deep into our friends, our experiences, when we're just video conferencing or something like that. It's you can't reach out and touch them. So, a word about filming. You know how difficult it is to film outside without any major noises? Right now we've got the supervisor voicing his concern because the neighbor's dog has heard me talking. So it's like a, what's that? A vicious spiral, downward spiral. I'm talking to you. Mr. Peaches hears the other dog because I'm talking. It just is a downward spiral. Anyway, just be aware that we might get some supervisor chatter. All right, so raking, all right? Well, you're going to develop your own technique, but it is cathartic. You can look up that term. And, it's kind of hypnotic, and it's good for you. I mean, think about all the things it works out, your upper body, bending over. It's just really good. So, exercise, that is, And so you're going to rake them, at least this is the way I do it. You're going to rake them into a medium-sized pile. All right, so you're going to have to go in larger and larger areas, raking towards your pile that you're making. Constantly moving towards your pile. Until you've kind of got a circle around your pile, and it's about a medium size. That one's kind of a small little pile, smaller than I would usually make, but you know, every once in a while I like to clean the leaves off, just for the aesthetics. Gives you a little break too. So like I said, you'll develop little techniques. So if you go the overhand, you really get a lot of pressure on those leaves. This is called the overhand. I'm kind of just making this up. So let's do the Plant High School crew team rower. Right? What else have we got? Oh, the sideways Sally mover. All right, so I'm raking as I'm going sideways. I'm actually looking at you. Look at me looking at you. It's called the sideways Sally. A pro is that in many people's minds, including mine, is that all the high stakes tests have been canceled for the rest of the year. If you're good with technology, that's great, but for some students, they'll admit that they say it's a struggle, and it's that we're having right now. You really got to be a jack of all trades with technology. I mean, you got to be able to understand what it takes to download something, edit it, return it. It just, how you connect to the internet, what's your wireless situation like, what the memory's like on your device, why isn't it working, that sort of thing. And printing, that's the worst can of worms ever. Okay, every tech specialist will tell you their number one problem, from a CEO down to kindergarten students, is printing. Everybody runs out of ink. Why doesn't it connect? That sort of thing. So, okay, one thing I'd like to talk about is I put it on pro and con, is that this gives you time to be alone with yourself and your thoughts. And I think I put this on both sides because I'm big into this. I think that students and people nowadays are almost scared when they have time to be with themselves and especially not connected electronically. You start thinking, and that's a good thing in most cases. Hey, I'm pretty much done with my piles of raking here. I have 12 of them. In just a moment, I'm going to pick them up and I'm going to put them in this garbage can, or several garbage cans, which leads me to your challenge. I would like you to guess how many garbage cans these 12 piles are going to fill up. Now, there are certain variables for you math-related people. This could be a math lesson. One variable is, how hard am I going to tamp them down in a particular garbage can? Well, I'll just say it's going to be a medium tamp, because we live in Tampa. And that was a horrible pun. But anyway, I want you to guess how many garbage cans it's going to fill up, and then you can respond on Edsby with a number, and there will be a prize for the winner. Now, there'll probably be a couple people that pick the same number, so I'll do a drawing, and there'll be a grand prize winner, and it'll be pretty cool, so stay tuned. I think on the con side, all this time alone with yourself and your thoughts leads to boredom. And that's a major theme that many students put out there. A con is that although teachers theoretically are available, through email and Edsby, that sort of thing, they're not in front of you every day. You can't reach out and just ask them something at the front of the class and the one-on-one help, it's not the same. And some people need that. They don't do well when they're too much left on their own. It is incredibly cheaper to be a distance e-learning environment. The physical building is a huge expense, and everything from maintaining it, the lawn, to the air conditioning, to the custodians, the bus drivers, everything is not needed when you have a digital environment. So that trickles down to students in a way, and that leads into maybe a controversial thought. One serendipitous, go ahead and look that word up, thing about raking is that you find things that you might have lost. And you'll notice I lost something really pretty special. It's a bookmark of my daughter's class in 2005. So that was 15 years ago. And I must have been leaving the car with my book, and it must have fell out. So I got this pretty special bookmark back. I would love students to debate this topic. You can just simply respond around this movie. Don't send it to me directly. Just respond right there on Edsby as a comment. What if an online education was guaranteed, but face-to-face education cost extra? Like, for example, if you want a high school experience where you're actually going to a physical building, would you pay more in the future? We're offered a free public education in America. The government guarantees that, but they don't guarantee what kind of education you're going to get. And in the past, it's always varied widely over school to school, district to district, state to state. The country is very big on ranking things, states versus states, schools versus schools, labeling them A, B, C, D, F. So a free public education is guaranteed, but it's never been outlined what kind of public education is guaranteed. So you could theoretically be offered an online education as your basic package, but if you want the extras, if you want to be a part of a play, if you want to be a part of a sports team, a pep rally, art shows, music contests, concerts, if you want to physically see your friends every day, what if that cost more? Or what if it was a mixture? What if your K through 6 education or K through 5 education was always in a building, but then starting in middle school or maybe high school, you were offered an online education as the base. All right, so here's my technique for getting leaves up into the garbage can, all right? People probably do it a myriad of different ways, but this is the technique I've developed over the years. You take the rake, you get a good pack in there, and you take your hand and you scoop like that. That's a pretty good load of leaves. And then you drop them in. Rake a little bit more, get another pack going, drop it in. Now if you're a perfectionist, you've got a little tiny pile, okay, even this little tiny pile right here, what are you gonna do with that little tiny pile? Keeps getting smaller. If you're a perfectionist, you're gonna rake them over to the next pile. All right, let's get the supervisor. Who wants a treaty treat? There he is. Come get a treaty treat. Okay, so you've got your full garbage can of leaves, but they haven't been tamped yet. So you take your tamper, give them a good tamp, and then you can get lots more in there.